Silent here. So Laci Green made a video last week entitled False Rape Accusations. Before I start, I'd like to credit W. Lot for this image I'm using over my voice right now. I've linked his DeviantArt page in the description below. Check him out because his work is amazing. Now, on to Little Miss Laci.
Hey internet, question. Have you ever worried that someone was lying about rape?
Yes, I have, Laci, because I care about justice. I don't want to see an innocent person be punished for a crime they didn't commit.
Every single time a woman comes forward about having been abused by a beloved movie star, musician, TV star, YouTubers, that star's fans immediately accuse her of lying.
And they shouldn't. They should be expressing doubt about her accusations, not condemning her claim.
There are men's groups online that claim that women lie about rape 90% of the time.
Citation needed.
A sheriff in Idaho very recently claimed that they don't need a better system for rape kits which collect evidence because most victims are liars.
The majority of our rapes that are called in are actual consensual sex.
So this is anecdotal evidence, which I agree is worthless. However, I don't really see your point, Laci. Is this some kind of evidence of the patriarchy's control over society and how it's convinced men that all women are liars?
And I mean, look, couldn't you or me or anybody in the world just make up a rape for attention to get revenge out of jealousy, as Toby Turner's mom posted on Facebook? Yeah, you could totally do that. But would you do that? And how often does that actually happen?
Yes, Laci. Anyone could make up a rape story for their own personal benefit, and I'm glad you agree. Would you do that? Is a stupid question because obviously some people do make false rape accusations. How often does that happen is a much better question.
The FBI states that between 2 and 8% of rape reports are false, which is actually a low number in the crime world. Other crimes, like say theft, they hover around 10% false reports. And even that 2 to 8% statistic is deceptive.
You're right, Laci. These statistics are incredibly deceptive. Now, take this time to pause the video, go down to Josh O'Brien's video, which I've linked in the description. He's going to explain why these stats are deceptive with a beautiful graph and colors that I can't use. Once you've watched the video, come on back. You good? Got it? Alright, let's start with Laci again, shall we?
It includes reports where someone accidentally identified the wrong person, reports that are thrown out because of inconsistent details, but it is a well-known fact amongst victimologists that trauma affects your memory, and that 2 to 8% includes survivors who recanted.
So a falsely accused perpetrator would mean it was a false accusation, although victims in those cases wouldn't necessarily be malicious in their accusation. And yes, Laci, trauma can affect memory. Hell, I even think you cited your source there. But people don't get every fact and information with the timeline mixed up when they're telling the truth. Take the scandal with Rolling Stone, for instance, which was determined to be a false rape accusation. Her story had more holes than Swiss cheese.
Someone could take it back because they were lying, sure, but much more commonly, they take it back because they're being pressured to take it back, or because they've decided they'd rather just not deal with it.
Holy shit, you are crazy, aren't you? So this is what you're fighting for. Women who recant their accusation aren't probably lying, they're just pressured into recanting, or just don't want to deal with it. That's horse shit. First of all, citation needed. Second of all, if a woman who's been raped wants justice, why would she not want to deal with it? Maybe, just maybe, she's a liar. Or she realizes she doesn't have a shred of evidence to get a conviction. The latter sucks, sure, but it's the price we pay for a legal system that assumes innocent before proven guilty.
So what does this mean? It means that malicious, actually false reports and allegations are pretty rare. And yet, doubting someone, calling them a liar when they come forward is extremely common.
It is common, Laci, and it should be. Doubting an accusation or a claim of any kind is standard practice in logic. You see, Laci, there's this little thing called the burden of proof. It states that the burden to prove any assertion is on the claimant. In this case, the claimant would be the person accusing another of raping them. Innocent before proven guilty means that the law doubts any claim until evidence is shown to prove that claim. I, Silent, can claim that you, Laci, are the Zodiac killer. And you, rightfully so, would respond with, do you have any evidence? Or prove it, or that's just Ted Cruz. People who doubt accusers are merely suspending judgment until sufficient evidence is provided to either support or refute the claim. It's the cornerstone of our democracy. That and free speech.
Many of the reasons why we're inclined to doubt someone revolve around rape myths, myths about victims, and myths about gender. For one, most perpetrators aren't greasy, creepy guys who hang out in the shadows. They're just regular people in our lives. When fans, friends, family, coworkers find out that someone that they know and love did something terrible, it can be really hard to grapple with and accept, and instead, they choose to deny it.
No, Laci, they deny it because we have this little thing called innocent before proven guilty.
That halo effect around a perpetrator can be so strong that you can have cases like Cosby's where nearly 60 women come forward and report and people still don't believe that anything happened.
So here's the thing about the Bill Cosby case. All of the women who accuse Cosby of rape don't have a shred of physical evidence. No drug tests to show whether or not he drugged him. No DNA tests, no rape kits, nothing. Most of these women claim that their rapes happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. And now, I've never been a Bill Cosby fan, and I don't think there's a halo around him, at least for me. But I am morally obligated to withhold judgment until a jury of his peers, after hearing all of the evidence or lack thereof, has made a verdict. Until then, I cannot judge him.
Sometimes the perpetrator even goes so far as to say, I didn't do it. They're lying.
Oh my God, you're saying that the people who are accused of rape deny it even though they're guilty? Like every other crime? No way!
This affirms people who don't want to believe that the sexual assault happened. There are a lot of people, particularly in the States, who believe that in order for a rape to be real, you have to have reported it.
No, unreported rapes are real. However, in order for these rapes to show up in other statistics, they have to be reported. That's the whole point of unreported rapes. We don't know about them.
And in order for that report to be true, a court must convict them as guilty. Now, in reality, about 68% of victims of sexual crimes don't report, and only 2% of rapists ever see a day in jail.
That's a straw man, Laci, because the courts aren't about truth. The courts aren't some arbiter of truth. The courts are arbiters of justice. And you don't condemn anyone for being accused. You condemn them when they've been tried and found guilty by a jury of their peers, something you clearly don't understand.
Does that mean that 98% of people are just lying? No, it means that our courts aren't arbiters of truth, and they're not always adequately equipped to handle sexual crimes.
Golf clap for Laci. She figured it out. The courts aren't arbiters of truth, they're arbiters of justice. And yes, the courts can handle cases of rape, and they are able to, because there's these little things called juror instructions that tell juries what kind of evidence is required and what the case is about, because they don't understand the legal jargon that goes on in an opening statement and a closing statement, etc., etc. That's how our courts can handle all kinds of cases that regular jurors wouldn't know about. They're called juror instructions.
Then there are myths about how a real victim would act. In reality, there's no one response to sexual assault. Different people handle it in lots of different ways.
You're right, Laci. People do react to traumatic events in different ways, and we can't expect people to react in a particular specific way. However, when a woman shows actually no emotion at all on the witness stand, most people are inclined to not believe him or her because they're not showing any emotions that are in any way similar to theirs. It's not wrong to expect people to react emotionally to traumatic events, though I do agree people don't react in the same ways.
Another myth when it comes to men is the belief that men can't actually be raped. Men want sex all the time. He had an erection. He was into it. But an erection is not consent. And increased blood flow can be a fight or flight response.
Oh, thank you, feminist overlord, for acknowledging that men can be raped too. What would we do without our feminists fighting for us? I don't know, maybe we just try to get the evidence and convict them?
Lastly, one of the sneakiest and I think most pervasive reasons why people don't believe survivors is that most survivors are women. There are many subconscious sexist beliefs that we learn all throughout our lives that come in and inform our opinions. That women lie a lot, we're not trustworthy, we're manipulative, bitches be crazy. When those attitudes and biases within ourselves go unchecked, they absolutely do real damage.
No, Laci. People doubt accusers, not survivors, accusers, because that's how the system works. And I'd also like to point out that all stereotypes come from a place of truth. And while I don't think stereotypes is a good thing, and I think that we should try to not use them in our daily lives, they still come from a place of reality. There's a reason why comedians make so many jokes about how women win all the arguments and how husbands, you shouldn't try to get into an argument with your woman because she gonna win. There's a reason why that stereotype exists.
But wait, what if it really is actually truly, really, truly false? False reports are illegal, and they're typically taken pretty seriously when they surface.
Citation needed. I have yet to hear of a case where a false accuser, after admitting that they falsely accused someone, was criminally charged with something. Now, these cases go to civil court where they're sued for damages, but I have yet to hear of a case where a person goes to jail for making a false accusation. Please cite your sources. Laci Green.
It's really, really important to talk about them because ultimately in this fight, we're fighting for justice for everyone. So we need to pay attention in the rare moments that this happens to address them, to better understand them. And we do a whole lot of talking about false reports, which is why we also need to talk about the reality that sexual assault accounts are nearly always true. How we more readily believe someone who says they've been robbed than they've been raped. How men are far more likely to be sexually assaulted than to be falsely accused. How it's far more common that a survivor is convinced to back down by the public, friends, family, even the police when something horrible did happen. We need to talk about how widespread myths and disbelief protect abusers and allow them to keep on abusing others. If false reports are something that worries you, know that statistically you're on the side of reason and justice and truth to believe someone who comes forward.
Now, Laci just pulled out a bunch of horse shit, some of which I agree with, some of which I don't, but she basically just listed a whole bunch of points that I don't have the time or patience to go through and research them individually, of course, citation needed. But I really want to point out the fact that, no, you're not on the side of truth and justice if you believe anyone just because it's statistically more likely, which those statistics are in deep question. What is right for you to do is to go through and look at the evidence, to suspend belief or disbelief and look at the facts that you have available to you. Suspend your judgment until you see the evidence. That is how you are on the side of truth and justice.
We need to be willing to face the truth, to approach justice honestly, even when the perpetrator is someone that we know and love. So to April Fletcher and any survivor who finds the strength to come forward on YouTube or beyond, I believe you. And one day I hope that the world does too.
To April Fletcher, take your evidence and go to the police, not Tumblr. Take your evidence to a place where that evidence can be used to try and convict the man who you say wronged you. And that's all I really have for today. Thanks for watching.